This show has been brought to you by sacredapparel.net. The homie Twink and the crew over there are always coming up with the latest fashions, the tees, the hoodies, and the hats. Right now, they got a store-wide sale going on. Everything 20% off. This would be a great time to pick up a hoodie. Everything 40% off. Regular price $40, now they $25 a hoodie. And the dope thing that I like about Sacred Apparel, they got tees for the big homies. So go check them out, sacredapparel.net, a clothing store for the ladies and gentlemen that choose to live sacred. You dig? Are you a producer or artist that is lacking confidence in your music? Well, now you can get your music critiqued by our industry vet. The Amazing Beat Critique by producer vet, The Amazing SB. Get your one-on-one video consultation via Skype or FaceTime. Submit 3 beats or 3 songs, and he will provide feedback and any questions that you may have pertaining to your music or the industry. So contact The Amazing SB today at amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Again, that's amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Contact him and book your session today. Are you a producer or artist that is lacking confidence in your music? Well, now you can get your music critiqued by our industry vet. The Amazing Beat Critique by producer vet, The Amazing SB. Get your one-on-one video consultation via Skype or FaceTime. Submit 3 beats or 3 songs, and he will provide feedback and any questions that you may have pertaining to your music or the industry. So contact The Amazing SB today at amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Again, that's amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Contact him and book your session today.
You are listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, the podcast that's strictly for producers.
Are you working on a project and you're looking for your next banger? Well, check out the team over at soundhbeats.com. Looking for a variety of production? Well, the homie Ray and the crew over there can take care of all of your musical needs. They got exclusives, leases, and they got a clearance sale over there. Are you an artist on a budget? Well, now they are offering bulk discount prices on their lease beats. So what you waiting on? Head on over to soundhbeats.com and pick up your banger today. Christian music, all heart, soundhbeats.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This should be played at high volume.
You ain't got the answers.
Yo, what's good? Hey, what's poppin'? It's your boy Swift.
It's Young Joshua.
This is
Surface.
This your man K-Drama.
This is the Amazing SB, and you're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast.
You are now listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast.
And you're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast
with my man Marv.
With my homie Marv.
With my homie Marv. With my man Marv from OB.
I'm a Marv from OB Beats, baby, yeah. You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yo. Yo, what up? It's your boy Marv from Obese, man. How y'all doing today? I am good for this Tuesday afternoon. This beautiful Tuesday on the afternoon, man. I'd like to welcome you to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig? How y'all doing, man? You dig? Anyway, man, we got a dope show on today. Man, I am so honored to have the one, the only, the legendary in his own right, the man himself. A lot of the Christian hip-hop producer stuff that you heard from a lot of the Christian production from, I want to say, 2008, and maybe 7 or 8, all the way up to 13, when like you was like, man, who is this guy making this kind of music? This guy that I'm going to be interviewing today, he was responsible for a lot of that production that was coming out, and it's the one and only Tony Stone. It's going to be in the building. This is the exclusive interview. He told me this is the first interview that he's did in 3 years. So I was blessed to get an exclusive and the first interview after 3 long years from the man himself. So we're going to have him on the show today, man. We got a nice show lined up. Before I get into anything else, let me bust up the scripture. And the scripture is coming from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 8 in the King James Version. And it reads, "To everything there's a season, and a time to every purpose under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, a time to heal. A time to break down, a time to build up. A time to weep, a time to laugh. A time to mourn, a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend, a time to sue. So, a time to keep silence, a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate. A time to war, a time of peace. And let's see. That's the end of the scripture. And basically, Solomon was just talking about, man, there's a time and place for everything. Once we get into the interview, we talk about Tony, you know what I'm saying, just his whole transition into different seasons in his life. And, you know, as you hear the interview, you're going to hear that, you know, everything was God's timing. You know, it is so important that we try to move at God's timing versus trying to move before him. You know, we end up moving before God, man. We move and everything that needs to be there at that point in time is not there. So it's important that we understand and try to be sensitive to God's timing. It's a timer for everything. You know, as producers, you know, we want to try to get this thing popping. We want to start selling beats. We want to get these placements and stuff. But man, I didn't get a major placement till after 3-4 years. You know, after I had been producing, you know what I'm saying? My first major placement was with R. Swift. Shout out to my man Swift. That was a major placement for me at that time. But, you know, that was almost 3-4 years grinding, you know what I'm saying, before that ever happened. And, you know, there have been times where I've, you know, found myself trying to move God's hand and, you know, move before him and, you know, try to open up doors that wouldn't open, and you know, you find yourself being frustrated because that door's not open, and that's because there's a time for everything. So that's the word for the day. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 8. Man, timing is everything when it comes to God, and that's whatever we are doing. You know what I'm saying? There's a season for everything. So, yeah, hope that encouraged you. Hope that encouraged you. And that scripture is definitely an encouraging scripture to me that, hey, man, if I just be cool, it'll work when it work. It'll happen when it happen. And if it don't, hey, ain't nothing I can do about it. Anyway, man, got a good show coming up. My man Tony is going to be on the line. He dropping some fire Jews. You gonna definitely be encouraged. There's definitely some rebuke. You know what I'm saying? Just some, you know, you know what? I'm gonna let you make your own assessment of the interview. All I can say, it's fire. All right. You're listening to the ShowLab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. This show has been brought to you by SacredApparel.net. SacredApparel.net. Go check my homie Twink out over there. He got some popping summer sales going on. I'm hoping he said, and I'm gonna put it on the air, so he can't take it back. He said he's sending me some new gear, so I am expecting my new gear, man. Go check him out, sacredapparel.net.
TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yes, sir. You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast. I am your boy, Mo Beats. In producer news, man, I am so excited about this one, man. Shouts out to my homeboy, T-Walla. T-Walla has landed a placement on the Sprint commercial. Christian hip-hop producer. Christian T-Walla, let me just read it, and I'm getting this. The sources coming from Rapzilla.com. T-Walla lands Sprint commercial TV spot during the Good Morning America show. Christian hip hop producer T-Walla of Elect Records. Shout out to my homeboy Josh and them over there. Landed a Sprint TV commercial placement during the Good Morning America show on ABC. The commercial dancing features one of T-Walla's beats in the background as a Sprint customer dance for joy. And if you go over to Rapzilla.com, you can go check out the video. I seen this commercial prior to, but I had no clue that T-Walla produced the joint. And I had him on the show some episodes ago. You can go check that out over at Spreaker, or for all my iTunes users, you can go download the app over at you can subscribe to it on iTunes. But anyway, he said he had some stuff that he couldn't talk about, and I'm kind of feel a little bad. That's my boy, but I understand you don't want to spoil it because you don't know. That's something that you have to learn as a producer. Until it happens, it's good to keep certain information on tuck, because you don't want to speak before and you saying you doing such and such and then don't pop off, and you're gonna feel real shame. I learned that early on, man. Look, until it pop off, until I am certain that this is happening, you will not hear from me. So shouts out to my homeboy T-Walla, man, making that them residuals, them nice residuals. Making a nice change. Definitely nothing wrong with those royalty checks coming in every 3 months. Shouts out to T-Walla, man, and wish the best, pray the best of success for anything else that he got his hands on. In about 2 minutes, I'm gonna have my boy, my guy, my mentor, Tony Stone, on the show. When I first started out, that's when MySpace was like popping, right? Tony literally had the game sold up in Christian hip hop. I'm just tell you right now, he had that mug so sold up. Everything that was coming out was a Tony Stone beat. Tony Stone. And man, when I first started out, I wanted to, I wanted somebody to kind of help me, along the way, man, just starting out and stuff. And I remember when I initially emailed him, he didn't respond. And, as a aspiring producer, I kind of felt a little way about it. But as time went on, I kind of understood that, dudes are busy. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But I think what happened, I reached out to him again. Did I reach out to him? I think I reached out to him and he emailed me back. He answers my questions. But then Tony emailed me and was like, "Hey bro, I see you." And when he told me that, I was like, okay, big brother, he peeping me. He see the growth, you know what I'm saying? That said a lot, you know what I'm saying, coming from somebody, like him, you know what I'm saying? That spoke a lot, man. That told me that I was doing something good. So he is a dope guy, and I'm going to have him on in just about 30 seconds right after this commercial.
You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Are you looking for those heavy trap bangers? Then you definitely need to holler at Rock House Music, specialized and known for those bending 808s. You may have heard his recent work on K-Drama's The 8 album. So if that's the sound you're going for, holler at my man Anthony over at Rock House Music. You can check out his beats on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/IamRockhouse. Again, that's www.soundcloud.com/IamRockhouse. Rock House Music, home of the bending 808s. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, the podcast that's strictly for producers.
Yes, sir. You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, man. I am your boy, MarfromObeast.com. MarfromObeast, not MarfromObeast.com. Anyway, I'm your boy, Marv. I am so excited about this interview today. I know he ain't gonna say it about himself, and the Bible says, let another man praise thee. So let me just do a proper introduction. This dude was responsible for a lot of the early Reach record stuff. I'm talking about like Send Me, a lot of Triple E stuff, a lot of Shoba Rock, a lot of Reach stuff. This guy his name is a household name when it comes to production and Christian hip hop. And I am so honored. This dude is somebody that I have looked up to for years. When I first started out, even back way in the MySpace days, I would reach out to him and ask for advice and stuff, man. And I am just overwhelmed with this interview. And I would like to welcome no other than the legendary pioneer himself, Tony Stone, to the show. What up, T?
What up? What up, man? I know you said all that, man, but real rap, man, as I listened to your music, man, and then I heard sound in a depth and maturity in production that inspired me. So
wow,
yeah,
wow.
Man, right back at you.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I'm telling you, man, this has been a long time coming, and I got a gang of questions for you, but let me just properly get you to introduce yourself. I said something on the show last week. I was talking about you on the show. I said, man, for any producers in CHH that do not know Tony Stone, you need to throw your computer away right now. Literally. That is letting me know that you don't know your history when it comes to this thing called production in CHH. So, man, would you please, for the listeners, tell them who you are, what you do, what you did, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Man, Tony Stone, T Stone, T Stiz, all of them, man.
Right.
Man, just a servant, man. Someone that the Lord called out and gave a love for music and a love for the gospel, a love for His people. And had the privilege of producing, a lot of records from the early 2000s into like the 2010s, 2012ish, 13 is about where I hung it up. But lots of opportunities to produce. And work with guys. Really, it's a community of brothers and sisters as well. that just had a similar burden for a certain demographic of people to be able to communicate certain truths of the gospel, truths about who God is,
right?
Over music,
right?
And so I got started, in the making music, 80s and 90s. But really got put on like in the early 2000s, and actually the first label I worked with was Syntax Records,
right?
And first cat I produced for was Coleon.
Wow.
And and that was right at the start of working with Braille, and so yeah, that's kind of my roots. Worked on through, with Reach, of course, Lamp Mode, Cross Movement Records, and in the later days, and then many indie artists, and then on the tail end, working with Reflection Music Group,
right?
And so. Yeah, a lot of stories, a lot of experiences in the studio, lots of friendships made, lots of camaraderies built, lots of a lot of songs out there, a lot of the message put out there,
right?
And a lot of opportunities to serve the Lord and serve the people. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, man, I tell you what, man, Tone, and believe it or not, dog, like. When in conversations, when I might be talking to other producers and stuff, or if I'm at an event, like for some reason, man, I always mention your name in a conversation, dog. Literally, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
that's respect, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yes, no doubt, man. You really played a intricate part in this music production. In music production for CHH, man. I mean, it was like the sound was so refreshing, and I'll be safe to say, bro, you were responsible for bringing the production aspect to where it was up to par from just in music in general. It wasn't just the ding dong, it was, I'm talking about, it was really put together, man. So you definitely one of those guys. You, Todd Bangs is somebody that I look up to.
No doubt.
Yeah, Todd is another guy that I look up to. Virgil.
Todd Bangs is a good dude. Todd Bangs was one of my earliest influences in Christian hip hop.
Right.
And always I salute him, man. Much respect to Bangs. He put in that work. He was one of those guys I always felt that did not get as much recognition as I feel his skill level deserves, So Todd, big ups to Todd.
Yeah,
Bangs.
shout out to Todd Bangs, man. Todd is one of those dudes that really put in some work as well in the Christian hip hop community, man. How did you get into production, bro? I mean, how did that whole thing for production? How did that bug get in you?
Yeah, man. So really for me, man, it just started off with just a love for music. Just listening to music. My mom exposed me to a lot of, the gospel music.
Right.
My father, exposed me to a lot of the soul music from the 70s. So, just looking at the records in the house and listening to the records on the record player back when it was like an actual record player,
Right.
And, just listening to music like that and just appreciating it and not really understanding what I had, though, because to be honest, I did not enjoy soul music a whole lot when I was really young.
Right.
I just didn't have the level of appreciation. It was as I got older that I started realizing, this is crazy right here. Getting into some things like just enjoying listening to it. And then also just kind of growing up in, the black church context.
Right.
Everybody playing the drums or, something like that. So I picked up playing drums when I was 7, 8, 9, playing the drums and getting started on and stuff like that. And, maybe I just had a natural ability, but it was the opportunities, to kind of, experience music. And then I started playing keys and stuff like that. My mother really introduced me to a lot of the So we had a piano in the house. And, she encouraged me to play it, and taught me a little bit on the reading notes and sheet music and stuff like that. And
right.
Then, that moved on to like a keyboard. Like still, we're talking like early '90s now.
Right.
Keyboard, Casio keyboards with a little programmable sequencer on there.
Yeah, right.
Just fooling around with that, fooling around with the sounds, and then I from that point I figured out how to use like a tape deck.
Right.
To record.
Uh-huh.
I'm taking like the Casio thing, like trying to beat out a drum pattern and then record that for 3 minutes and then run the tape back and record to another tape and then, playing some keys to that. And,
right.
And then I had a couple of friends. I had one particular friend named Joey, and we would just take beats that we would make like that with the tapes, or just beating on stuff.
Right.
And trying to come up with raps and stuff like that. And, it was more just like fun.
Right.
Just more fun. And then I started developing realizing that you can use computers, and this was still like in the 90s, like mid 90s is when I started learning that I can loop up stuff on computers.
Right.
And, again, I'm just playing. And at this point in time, I'm listening to Christian hip hop.
Right.
So I'm tuned into Christian hip hop in like 93, 94, T-Bone, when, the cross movement came out with, Heaven's Mentality. Before that dropped, it was like one of the songs was on a compilation record. This was back when like Grape Tree was putting out like 3 albums a week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Grape Tree was putting them out, dog. Every other week they was putting out a new album.
Every week it was like like how's they Rubber Dub putting out a joint every I think Rubber Dub had like 4 different names.
Yeah,
like he was like 4 different artists.
Right.
Like with a different name and different dress on the front. I'm like, is this the same dude?
I'm telling you.
Now I'm listening to them, and I'm just listening and learning, some of what's going on like in the Christian music sphere, and in the internet had like just a few places online like where you could download some of the snippets and things like that. So I'm having some of these kinds of exposures, but along the way I'm saying in my mind, I'm like, this song would be better if. And so that was the way that I started listening to my music. I'm like, man, this song had this sound at this point. Or, man, if he dropped the beat out right here, or, man, if he did on this spot, or, man, like if the beat went like more like this instead of that. So I'm listening to music with an ear to, switch it up. Like, this is how we could sound better. And so, like, in my mind, I'm not thinking, this is like, good production or da-da-da. I'm just thinking, it would sound great if it did this.
Right.
And ways I'm tinkering around on these computers, and then I'm figuring out ways to create some of those sounds. And it begun to explore, just the computer-based approach to it, which I learned that is just so many different options that you can do with, with computer-based, production. So that's kind of like the early route up to the point to where I started using like software for real. Like everything up to this point was just I'm a consumer. I'm listening. I'm learning. Learning some of the artists that are out there. Thinking about ways to improve the music, but I'm not really like seriously doing like any music for real. And then once I hit high school, though, that was like a different season of my life. And I moved up to VA from Florida. So like it's there's a different kind of culture out here in VA. More of like a especially back then, it was everybody loved Wu-Tang, and so it was like more like a East kind of type of culture. Timbaland, you had Timbaland out here. You had Missy Elliott, and this even before like they were popping. Like you just you had a culture in VA of production, and I actually at that point started doing more like ciphers. Like where just I'm doing the beatboxing on like battles. So like that was more of the culture there, and I picked up more of the like what people like, what makes people like in real crowds move. and that turned into something. That's what I was like my high school time, from like 10th to 12th grade. That was that season where like I was really honing it in. Like, man, this is what people like. Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where it was like I was that dude that you went and sought out,
right?
In the school, like if we were gonna like that battle, because I was just learning like, okay, here's what the people really like. Here's what they connect with.
Right.
Like on the back end, like it was RZA had this one joint, this beat he produced called the song was called Tragedy, and the beat though on was ridiculous, and that always moved the crowd. I mean, like the whole crowd would always get crazy on that, and so just learning different things like that, like what makes people respond, what do people really like, what creates pocket for people to rap in. And I kind of took that and then took that back to the lab, and then it's at that season, 17, 18, 19, where I started doing more of the like production kind of stuff and working on tracks that are MP3s that people were checking out online. So that's kind of how it got to the point of people actually listening to my material on, in an online fashion where like more than just people in my neighborhood were listening.
Right. Man, the last thing that I heard, T, from you, bro, is you was doing a lot of stuff with RMG. You was the project manager over there. But then, all of a sudden, bro, you disappeared. Where did you go?
Yeah, great question. Where did I go? Where am I?
Yeah.
Nah, man, like, the main thing is, like, for people who have kind of, ran with me over the years, they've known and that my burden has always been for, all of life is ministry, whether or not, you can work at a grocery store, man, you can work in an office, you can be doing music, you can do pastoral ministry. All of it is ministry if you're a Christian.
Right.
Every opportunity you have to reflect the character of God and to share the gospel and to, be light and salt is ministry. But I know for me in particular, there was a particular context of the ministry that the Lord had put a desire for in my heart, from even an early age, and continued to cultivate as I did music. So, and this is true for a lot of guys. There have been some guys in Christian hip hop that were in Christian hip hop, and there was a season of time that Christian hip hop was going to be kind of the main front end of their ministry, and just transition to another form expression of that. Well, for me, that was I'm one of those individuals, and so the desire to see healthy churches that took the the gospel message that's being proclaimed in the music, and just kind of just a lot of good things were communicated in the context of Christian hip hop, especially in the time that I was really active. You heard themes on discipleship, you heard themes on the gospel and boldness and evangelism and truth and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is, for most of us, we were not experiencing that in the context of a local church. Most of us we had a community of brothers that thought like us, but they were not in our backyard. We connected with people, you know how it is with producers, and in this musical genre of Christian hip hop, we knew people in cities. We knew cats in Philly, or we knew cats in Atlanta, or we knew cats in St. Louis, or, we had connections like that, but it wasn't really, we didn't get a chance to flesh out a lot of the stuff as believers in the local church. And so, like, the reality is this, Christ says, Peter, he says, on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. He didn't say, I'm building this record label, or I'm building this production company, or I'm building this, organization, and the gates of hell won't prevail against it. But he says that for the church, right? And so for many of us, we had just a disconnect for where are these truths and this kind of culture of the gospel, and where's all of this stuff? Where's this holy culture living when it's not just on a record? where does it live for real? And that has been a continual burden for me as I grew, as I grew as a Christian, as I grew as as a producer. The question has always been, man, like, Lord, I know you're calling me to contribute to the work of the ministry in the area of the local church, and we're all called to that, right? But in a particular way, as one who is, leading in certain aspects. And so, the Lord just gave me a desire for that, but it didn't really take shape until about 2009, 2010. And I got to a point where, I had an opportunity to be able to move out to Nashville, which a lot of people thought was a music move. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, it was actually, me and my family moving out there for a local church. And the goal is, and so long story short, even to backtrack on that, a lot of people know of, Reach Life Ministries, which is basically the nonprofit arm of Reach Records. And the guy who was running that up for 6 years, Miguel Davila, him and I, we knew each other. We've been friends now going on like over 10 years. And we shared similar burden, similar passion. So, he's laboring with Reach on that end. Right. And him and I are friends and things like that. And, it just became apparent over time that the Lord was knitting our hearts together for a particular work in the context of a local church, for church planting. Yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, man, like just laboring with my brother Miguel. Mm-hmm. And, it's crazy to see like how the Lord took two dudes that were, in the Reach Records mix. Right. And kind of gave us two, both a similar burden and similar passion, and put us together and given us the same work to carry out. So that's what I'm doing now, man. I'm the associate pastor over at Hampton Roads Fellowship. Okay. And we rocking with it, man. We rocking. Wow. And just trying to take it easy, man, one day at a time, honoring the Lord, faithfulness in ministry, long term. And so it's been a joy, man. It's been a joy serving the people here, man. Right.
What did that transition look like for you, bro? What was the transition from being this sought after producer to pastoring?
Yeah.
I mean, was it hard?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Look, so I'm still processing a lot of that. To be real, like, okay. I think the Lord really used my time at Emmanuel Church to kind of help normalize that for me. I think a lot more. Like, I think there was mentally, like it's a total different mental game, right? Mm-hmm. I went from the, just all the phone calls, the emails, the texts, I'm trying to work, let's get this work, from that to right. Just a whole different kind of mentality. Now, I did, like, there were points in time where it was difficult because obviously I did that for years. Right. And I didn't, all I knew, on the practical level, like even my sleep schedule was just busted. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. Like, I'm up at all hours and doing all kind of crazy stuff. Like, so even that was like an adjustment. But I think for me, I think the Lord really just kind of prepared my heart to transition from one thing to the next. I think for real, like the main thing that I would point to is at Emmanuel Church, I learned what it meant and what it looked like to be a healthy member. Mm-hmm. And for real, like pastoral ministry is not, this high and lofty, like God honors it. It is significant. The office is important of an elder and all that. But as far as like the practicality of it, like all an elder is someone who is a healthy member of a local church, right, who is an example to others and leading. Right. Like that's all it is. So like what the Lord did at Emmanuel Church is I learned what that looked like for me and my family in that season of my life. So like I really felt that the Lord used just a healthy church where, like, man, people, like, they rejoiced in the fact that I did music, but, like, nobody was starstruck.
Right.
Like, that was real helpful.
Right.
Like, that was really helpful. I still remember one time where, I brought Derek Minor with me to one of our men's Bible studies, so I'm like, it's the typical thing. Like, you're always like, man, you're not trying to run up in the church where, like, everybody's like, gonna elevate you
right.
to some point where it's unhealthy art.
Right.
And so, we had been chopping it up a lot about just what does it look like to, just have those kinds of relationships with people where they're not impressed with you, but they'll
right.
tell you what you need to hear.
Right.
Like,
right.
I don't care who you are, I don't care who's for, like, I need to, like, this is what you need to hear right now.
Right.
And I still remember the first time bringing Derek Minor over to one of the Bible studies, and it was good, man. Like, people had heard of his music, knew of the record label, but still treated him just like a regular dude,
right?
And like that was the culture that I was able to absorb, where it was nobody was elevating me,
right?
Nobody was treating me different. Like, they helped me, walk with me.
Right.
I was able to walk with other people as well, and that kind of just helped, I think, for me model, and it just helped my heart, for real. Like, it just helped my heart to be able to be grounded.
Right.
Like, you're not X, Y, and Z, whatever you might think you are. You're not what the crowds might say you are. You're not what your Twitter feed retweets might say. Like, you are in Christ. You're a sinner saved by grace. You're a regular dude who needs all the means of grace, and let's get it. So I really feel that 3 years in Nashville leveled me out there. And the Lord really prepared me to just kind of take on a different form of what that looks like, in the context of pastoral ministry. So, there's other practical things like, I couldn't email. Once I started hitting, like, planting a church, man, is ridiculous, man. It's just a lot of labor, a lot of just, you're doing everything, right? And so there was, like, I went from, like, always answering emails and always to, like, having no time,
right?
like, to do, like, that, like, I was officially done with music. I kind of didn't really announce it. I just kind of let it fade. Like, the people in the real close, around me knew,
right.
Okay, this is what Tony's transitioning to, but I didn't really, like, make no huge announcement about it. But, like, so like, I'm getting emails still, I'm getting calls, but I'm not able to keep up.
Right.
And so over time, it just kind of dwindled in terms of priorities, even though, I'd already set in my mind, like, I'm vocationally and full-time in the context of pastoral ministry, church planting.
Right.
It was difficult in terms of just, like, even the communication, as far as new people. So a lot of the old heads and, a lot of the people that I was working with, like, they knew what was going on,
Right.
Breach Cats knew what was going on. Land Move Cats knew what was going on. Cross Move Cats knew what was going on.
Right.
Like, all the people that I'd been, like, laboring with, they knew, okay, Tony and Miguel were transitioning into this. But, like, the shock waves are still going. I mean, I still get to this day, man. It's 3 years in. I haven't produced a record in 3 years, man. And, like, I still get people that hit me up, trying to, get in the studio, trying to work. And I'm like, man, I love it. I love y'all. I love what the Lord has done through the culture and all that. But, like, I don't even have the margin. And so, yeah, man, like, it's been a fast pace for the last 3 years.
Right.
It's almost like a couple years. It feels like a year, man. Like, but it's been 3 years grinding at this. And I feel like even now, me doing this interview, Marv, like, this is the first time I'm kind of coming out, out the shell a little bit and even talking about it.
Hey, man, this is gonna go down for the ages. This is the exclusive interview with Tony Stone.
Exclusive, man. Exclusive, man. This is the first time I'm really out processing, and so a lot of our members, some of them, they've heard of Christian hip hop and they know some of the contributions. But it's even been dope here, like nobody treats me like on a different level because of the music production. Like, I love it, man. Like it's a family, and so we're able to just kind of engage with each other as as just people. But I feel like for me, man, like it was refreshing also, kind of step back out of the rat race of, you know, just the people that know you are the people that only know of you kind of thing.
Right.
And like the world now, like the people that know me know me.
Right.
You know, and it's been a good shift on that level. You know, so I mean, man, I see a lot of parallels also, like in pastoral ministry. A lot of the same pitfalls that you can fall into are the same in pastoral ministry. Like you can get caught up in the hype, and make it all about the hype rather than making it about the substance. Like that's like the same parallels. So I feel like a lot of the lessons that the Lord taught me in the context of Christian hip hop are still, you know, applicable and relevant to, you know, what I'm doing now. So, you know, it's just a different season, man, different season of life where we want to honor the Lord at, and understanding that there is, you know, there's no real glitz and glam in what we're doing now, and we love it like that, you know, and we want to just be faithful. We want to be faithful with it. So that's what I've been doing, man, for the past 3 years, and having another kid. So I went to Nashville with 2 kids, and now I got 4 kids now. So,
oh man,
you know, I'm staying. 4 kids, pastoral ministry, getting it in, man. Like,
wow, man. You know, that is a few things. Is a couple of things you said, man. One of them, well, we was talking about the whole transition. You know, I tell my friends I tell you know, my friends all the time. We have that conversation about, you know, knowing when it's time to move on to another season. Like, you know, as a producer myself, man. I know that, you know, that as time go on, man, you know, Lord's willing, man, I'll be 40 next year. You know what I'm saying? So I know that time is passing, and you know, it's so funny, Tony. As I continue to live and, you know, continue my walk with the Lord, I can see this destiny transitioning to where, you know, I'm not so consumed with the production aspect of it so much. Well, now I'm even getting into just the whole producer community, you know what I'm saying? Doing the conferences and, you know, doing the podcasts and stuff. Now, I know that I'm not, I know they got a generation of producers. They're going to always have this generation of producers that just going to keep coming in and keep coming in. You know what I'm saying? And I tell my homies, man, hey bro, when the Lord, when it's time for me to bow out and move to another transition in life, I'm a humbly and willfully move to that other transition versus trying to stay there and make something happen that shouldn't be, that's not happening. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah. Jordan has to retire. Kobe has to retire. Right.
Yes.
Like the reality. It doesn't matter even, you know, what level you may be, you know, at in any particular time. Like, you know, it's important for, you know, everyone to mature into different arenas, you know, and it looks different for everybody, man. Like my burden to tell people is, you know, you don't have to be a pastor. As a matter of fact, I think most of us don't need to be, right? Like, some of us will be, but whatever it looks like to mature into the next season, just make sure that you're growing as a Christian and growing as a Christian in community with other Christians in the context of the local church. Right. So grow like that. And then, and it's in that context that you're going to be able to have the clarity of mind, even to be able to think through what is it going to look like to take on the new season and what you're doing, like even in music. So, like one great example is one brother who's a member of our church. He's a producer out in VA, and you know, one of the cool things is to be able to see him even mature as he matures as what it means to be a Christian, not living in an isolated existence, but as a Christian who's giving more and more of his life to one another, to other Christians in the context of the local church. He's growing, and even in what that means to advance in his production career. So, you know, I've been able to sit down with him and and hammer out like, all right, this is what this can look like. So for instance, for him, he's doing, basically like, developing artists.
Right.
But what does that development look like? What's shaping that? Like, so his life in the local church and what he's learning as he commits more of his life and more of the bandwidth of his desires to those who he is committed to love and walk with in discipling relationships. Now he has more of a context to be able to think through, man, what does it look like for me to care for these artists,
right,
and do so in a holistic way so I can help them develop not only artistically, but help them to develop in their character,
right,
help them to develop in what it looks like for them to be whole people. Because a lot of times what people do is they'll spend the majority of time, let's say if producers will come in, you'll be a beat maker at first, right? You'll
right.
just be a beat maker, and then you'll grow, you'll develop and say like, I can do some more stuff. Like I can maybe start putting together some scores or put together some, albums, right? And you start doing some more like production,
right?
Real like production, and then maybe you start moving from there, and you're like, let me do I'm doing some like real studio kind of stuff, and I'm trying to, branch it out to different genres. Well, the thing is this, man, you're taking your character with you everywhere you go, and when you start moving into the realms, I think a natural progression for someone who starts off as a beat maker moves on to production as the broader scope of things, and then like developing artists. Like the question is now, what are you developing the artist for? Right? To what end? Are you developing an artist that is going to be able to make a hit song now, or are you developing an artist who's going to be thinking holistically as a person made in the image of God, and you want to help contribute to this person, the building of their character and their longevity, not just as an artist, but just as a man or as a woman, right? So, and this is what I'm able to see, like in the context, HRF. I'm seeing, my man's, he's thinking of, man, how can I develop these artists to help them have an eternal perspective with what they're doing with their music, content-wise, but also just how they want to make career moves. How do those things factor in some ultimate things? And this is as a direct result of the way he's getting fed and discipled amongst the community. So, so my thing is this, man. Like, I want to see people grow and be beastly Christians. Man, like beastly church members and beastly at whatever it is that they're gonna do, man. Like some dudes, man, like you did music and then now you're gonna work at the post office. Bet, let's do it. Right? Or you did music and you're gonna start some other kind of business. Bet, let's do it. Or you did music and you're gonna progress at what that means to kind of take on new opportunities in the context of music. No matter what you're doing, man, you're gonna bring some character with you or lack thereof. Right. And so my thing is, man, like how can we deepen in our own character and help other individuals deepen in their character so that what ultimately gets put on display is the character of God. A lot of times, like, guys will get into the game and they're not thinking about serving the current generation because they're just trying to corner the market for themselves. Right. Like, no, be thinking about how you can build some camaraderie with some brothers along the way. Because here's the thing, you're not always going to be doing what you're doing, and some of the same brothers that you labored on in music might be, like in my case, one of the brothers that you're planting a church with, or one of the brothers that you're doing X, Y, so like this camaraderie that we've had, in the context of music has, for some of us, matured into, it's a lot of the same guys, that the Lord has called into pastoral ministry. And I'm looking back, I still remember with Trip Lee, Trip, he's doing this thing as well. Like, I still remember when Trip Lee was too young to sign his own contracts. You know what I'm saying? Like he couldn't even sign his contract, so we're working on music together. And like, here it is many years later, over a decade later. And now there's a camaraderie at one level in that we're doing the same kinds of things in different cities, but the Lord has called us to very similar kinds of things. And so, man, like what a loss that would have been if all it was about was just trying to corner your end of the market and making it all about you and your brand and your goals. man, you're gonna be 15 years older if the Lord lets you live. You're gonna be 20 years older if the Lord lets you live, and some of those same brothers that you ran over are gonna be some of the same brothers that are gonna be around, and and you want to be able to develop kind of camaraderie long term. And also you want to think about the next generation, just like you said, man. Like there's always going to be a crop of producers, beat makers. Right? It's always going to be that, right?
Right.
The thing is this: there is no such thing as you having more creativity than just a crop of young dudes that have not experienced what you're like. They're just like they're coming with new ideas. They've been influenced by different sounds, by different styles, by different. Like the reality is, like, every producer has to stop and say, okay, there's going to be a certain sound that's going to be more natural to some of the younger guys.
Right.
And then there's going to be that's not going to be as natural to me. I might can do it, but it's not going to be as natural to me. So what does that look like to be able to contribute for the sake of some of these younger dudes, and be thinking about how I can maybe create new lanes for myself or new opportunities for myself, so that I can create space for those young dudes to be able to get some space. Like, and I think a lot of, especially in the arts, man, dudes like get very territorial. Like, it's like pastoral ministry, right? You don't want that new church, right? Like the new church in the block. It's like, oh, they're gonna take our members. Like, like it's like, look, man, like we need all of it. Like we need all of that, man. Like we need those young cats coming in with a new sound and with new drive, and new energy, and we need that, and we don't want to be the kinds of individuals that are trying to lock it down for ourselves, right? Because we're afraid that somebody's going to be more influential. And I think that's the elephant in the room, to be honest. Like in all music, but and especially in Christian hip hop, just because I know the context there, right? Like the idea of like, man, like you feel intimidated or threatened by the fact that there's new talent, right? Like, don't be intimidated, don't be threatened by it, man. Like you should actually be encouraging it and cultivating it, man. Like, take it back to like, the local church context, man. Like, a pastor, like, one of our main goals, me and Miguel, man, we say like this, like, our goal is we want to be able to try and preach ourselves out of a job. Like that's the goal. Like we don't want to corner the market and be like the crown on the top of the thing, man. If that's our goal, man, forget about it. We're not even doing the Lord's thing. We're doing our thing, right? And just slapping the Lord's name on it. Like, we want to be able to raise up people. We want people to be in a better position than us, right? Like, we don't want to be the we don't want to be the ceiling. We want to be the floor for somebody else, right? And that's the way the Lord's designed it, man. Let me fade so that you can excel. Right. And I feel like in Christian hip hop there can be a tendency, especially because the pond is so small. Yeah. Right. Yep. The pickings are so slim. Right. The opportunities are so scarce that people want to just basically hold on to as much of it as they can. And you'll end up with certain individuals that aren't really doing rap as rap is now, right? But they're still trying to get awards for best Christian rap album, right? 20 years later, right? It's like, man, like, that music doesn't even sound like that anymore, like, right? And at that point, it just starts looking like self-interest, right? It just starts looking like, you're just trying to like capitalize on a market space, right? This is not really you trying to help. Cultivate younger artists, younger producers. That's the thing, man. Like, that's what I want to do, man. Like, my last couple years in Nashville, I had a brother that I had the opportunity. He actually connected with Lecrae at a concert. Chopped it up with Lecrae. He was actually at a music school in Nashville and doing some music school. He's from Mississippi. His name's Sinatra. Shout out to Sinatra.
Yeah, shout out to Sinatra. I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, no doubt. And so, he was just trying to get on a little bit, and learn the game, like real respectful, trying to learn the game. So he went to a Lecrae concert. This was back in 2011, 2012, right? And so basically, Lecrae was like, yo, connect with Derek Minor. He's out here. And that it happened to have been the time that I was working on some stuff with Derek for his Dying to Live album. Mm-hmm. And so Derek brought him to the studio, you know, and so I met him, and then we just connected from there. And you know, he did the studio I was you know, doing all of my work out of. I logged, you know, he had to do, you know, intern hours at a studio. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he did all his intern hours. Man, I'm like, look, man, carry on. I'm going to just dump everything on you. Like resources, connections, you know, here's stuff I learned. You know, here's, like, so for a year, man, all it was like me just saying, look, man, like, here's the stuff I've learned. Here's the stuff I would do if I were in your shoes. If I were to do it all over again, this is what I would do. You know, here's some drum kits. Here's how I created this sound on this record. Here's how I created that sound. Here's an unknown plugin nobody knows about. Right. Here's you know, like all that kind of stuff. Yo, come to the studio with me when I'm working with such and such person. Right. Yo, let me connect you with this, you know, flame over here and da over there. Like, yo, somebody hit me up, you know, on a major record. They want to do some. They want to get some production from me. Give me like 5 of your best joints. I'm gonna send that with them. And you know, like that kind of like. And I feel like that was something nobody ever did for me. Right. Like, nobody ever did that. Nobody ever said, yo, like man, like I have connections, and I want to put you in contact with these connections. Right. I got sounds, I got pins, I got tips, tricks. Let me give you some of the knowledge on the bit. Nobody did that. Right. Like it was like ultra mysterious. Right. You know, like you had to figure that stuff out on your own. It was just the grace of the Lord that I had some of those connections. Right. That's more the culture that needs to be cultivated in the context of Christian hip hop, as it relates to producers, man. Like, you know, like it's not about trying to corner the market on your own and trying to, you know, get your stock up and keep your contacts to yourself. And like, that's the way the world does it, man, because the world has no hope. Right. You know, and the world is trying to live as if, you know, this is all there is, man. Like, you know, share the resources, man. Share those connections, share the knowledge. And you know, it's in that context I think that we can grow, man. Like, you know, and what it does is it prepares a better situation between the younger generation and the older generation. It models what we're trying to do. You know, we want to model that even in the context of the music, man. Like, receive so you can give, man. Like, there's a greater responsibility. Like, if you have platform, if you had rapport, if you know, you want to be able to deed that off to someone else. You know, I got 3 sons, right? You know, and I want to be able to deed off to them certain knowledge, connections, resources, and things like that, so that they can begin their adult life with things that it took me 15, 20 years to get. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we want to model, man. Like, so I think right now in Christian hip hop in particular, we have an opportunity to be fathers in a sense to a younger generation, you know, spiritually and practically. You know, let's be fathers. You know, let's be fathers. A lot of us did not have fathers. Let's be fathers to a younger generation. That's what I'm on about, man. Right. Well, man, I want to ask you this question before we get out, man. It's something that has really, you know, became, I want to say, a commonplace in Christian hip hop. I'm not a fan of it at all, but I just want to get your thoughts on it, man. What's your thoughts on, you know, Christian artists working with secular artists in it? Because it's always it's been a debate for the last, you know, year or so, and at the same time it's becoming a commonplace for it. You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on that? Yeah. Ooh, great, man, Marv. You put this at the end. Ooh. All right, here we go. Oh man, so this debate, I know it's kind of had a modern resurrection. Yes. This is a debate that I was involved in the late 90s, actually. So this was in the late 90s, man. Like, this was a heavy debate. I think it kind of took more of the shape of the classic cross movement fans versus the tunnel rats thing, right? So like, this is in a way nothing new. I think what's new here, Marv, is this: that in recent times, there's been more financial, economic, and influential success in Christian hip hop. That the difference between now and maybe 20 years ago, when this conversation was going on, the difference between now and then is that there are more options. Like, right, so to go back to that classic Chris Rock joint, right? A man is as faithful as his option, right?
Right.
Well, when you throw in a bunch of options, right, then suddenly we start thinking differently. I think that there were some people who were, as a concept, against the idea of it because they knew what Christian hip-hop was all about. To them, Christian hip-hop was a way to be able to communicate certain truths from a certain culture that had a certain camaraderie, that had a certain unity together. And so to take then Christian hip-hop and have other kinds of influencers that did not share the same burdens, the same culture, the same voice, the same message, was to essentially say, that's like inviting a stranger into a family reunion,
right?
And having them give the toast. It's like like this person does not know what we're about, does not know our family history, has not walked the walk with us, right? And so I think in some of the early days, there was more of that sentiment. I think as things kind of progressed and Christian hip-hop has gotten more financially successful, there has been more people who have invested themselves in Christian hip-hop at some level, like as listeners, for instance. You see the interviews, man, like, Christian hip-hop will get interviewed on some of the, major outlets now and get notoriety. And so it seems like there are more people who are interested in Christian hip-hop who are, who have stakes in Christian hip-hop, whereas that wasn't the case before. And so in some ways it seems like, why not just have the dude who is, such and such, cat, producer for such and such cat? Why not have him produce for your record? And why not build relationships and da-da-da-da? And I understand that if we're approaching this as, this is just a business. If you're saying, I'm working, this is just me doing a job, like, I get it. I get why people do that. But, Marv, I'm of the persuasion that as far as me in Christian hip-hop, I do not see Christian hip-hop as just a career, as just a job. Man, we are communicating something when we partner with various artists. We're communicating something. We're saying that there is enough about this individual's work and body of work that matches what I'm doing. That the two can blend together. And I get, man, like, I'm careful here to not be, dogmatic where Scripture is not dogmatic. But this is my thing, man. Like, if we would be men of gospel conviction, right? If we're going to be men who are completely captivated by the surpassing work of Christ Jesus and his gospel, then I just think that there's certain things that would be off the table because it just does not help advance that message of saying that the gospel is supremely valuable and precious. Now, if all we're asking is, how can I connect with such and such dude? Then, there it is. Or if the only question I'm asking is, how can I reach out to such and such's fan base? Or if we're asking those kinds of questions, then you do different kinds of things, right? If all I'm asking is, how can I connect to, RZA's fan base? If that's all I'm asking, then I can get RZA to produce a joint, then I'm going to do it, right? And I've answered the burden. Reach out to RZA's fan base, right? But if I'm asking other kinds of questions like, how can I communicate something about the preciousness of the gospel and something of the preciousness of the holiness of God, and that God is doing something, even at the level of skill, amongst brothers that have that same passion, and I want to put on display that while still keeping it 100 with dudes. When I can sit in the studio with you. We could chop it up. We could get on the phone and we could talk. We can do all that. Like, we can still be there's a lot of people that I talk to that I'm not going to have preaching in the pulpit. There's a lot of people that I'm going to talk to that don't need to be, on my record.
Right.
Like, and we can have deep, real friendships. Like if the issue is just that, then we don't need a record to do that.
Exactly.
Right? Like, if the issue is being friends and being tight and connecting, then we don't need records to do that. We can have relationships to do that. You could be an unbeliever, hate everything that I stand for, and be a dope producer and not be on my record, and we be on the phone talking every week.
Right.
And I'm chopping it up with you, and we building, and all of that kind of stuff. We can do that. I think and again, I think some people have erred in questioning the motives, maybe, to say that the reason why, let's say, like a Lecrae or somebody, the reason why they're, they got a producer, a secular producer, is because Well, I don't think that's right. Don't judge the motive, right? Don't judge the motive. But what I will judge is that is displaying something, that there is something that's being communicated, right? And we do want to ask what's being communicated. And even if, in my mind, one thing's being communicated, I need to be open to say, what is that communicating out there, right? And I think in the context, to be honest, like, the Christian hip hop producer is a dying breed, bro. It is a dying breed because the culture at large in Christian hip hop is saying, we don't really care so much so what a man believes and his character in relation to that, so long as he can put out dope music. And what I'm saying is, there's always been dope music to pick from, right? And there have always been people rejecting dope music if the character of the individual has not been up to par. It's just now, I think, because of financial viability, and we're popular now, you got some popular artists, you get, we got more notoriety, we got more people investing in Christian hip-hop that are not believers. Then suddenly now the competition is turning into, how can I make the dopest music? And my warning to Christian hip-hop would be this, that dope music is not what got us here. Right?
Come on, brother.
Music is not what got us here.
Say it.
Thank the Lord that He gave us some dope music, but dope music is not what got us here.
Exactly.
What got us here is that people were shocked that these dudes out of nowhere, who were passionate about Christ and making much of the gospel and were bold. It's a lot like the drill music scene out of Chicago. Drill music didn't get big because because all the rappers were dope.
Right.
Let's be real. The music is not really that dope, but people were like, these people believe what they're talking about. There's a life. These people are bringing some foreign reality to me. Right? Like, what? Like drill music and is it like that in Chicago? Like, like people were more interested in the story behind that. And the drill music just kind of became a medium to communicate that. Well, that's the same thing with Christian hip hop. Like, people were not buying music. Sure, we had some dope music. Sure, we had all that, but that wasn't what was driving it, man. It wasn't driving it. People weren't interested in Christian hip hop because T Stone was producing, or Marv, or Bangs, or JR, or whoever. Like, they were interested because they're like, these people are like in your face with something. Like, they're so offensive. They're so offensive, and they're so unashamed of this offensiveness. Right. Like, what did they do? What do you think? About these dudes are doing whole rap records on the atonement. These dudes doing whole rap records on killing sin and on going hard or go home and other like what? Like, it was that. It was that, and the Lord used the foolishness of
to confound the wise.
The folly of the right? And people were like, let's just gather around this, even if we're just gonna laugh at it.
Yes.
Right? But let's check on it. Right? And it was that context that propelled this genre forward. into notoriety. So we don't want to do, like Francis Schaeffer says, we don't want to do the Lord's work man's way. We want to do the Lord's work the Lord's way, right? And this boils down to this. Like, what are you about? What are you trying to do? Man, if the goal is to be sustainable, and so I'm just going to get any producer, dope or whatever, Christian or not, then you do certain things. You make moves certain ways.
Right.
But if you're saying, this is the Lord got us here because of the gospel, because there was a preciousness of the gospel that people could tell, and they were just offended by this reality, but they just couldn't help but keep coming back and checking it out, and just so that even if they could just rail at us, but they wanted to check it out, and the Lord propelled us because of that and through that, then let's do the Lord's work the Lord's way. Let's continue to run with the same kind of people that have the same kind of conviction. Producers and all, and let's keep doing that. And I think that's the kind of ministry that the Lord wants to continue to sustain, because he can put his name on it, and he's not competing for glory. He's not competing for, like, is it because you got this producer why this thing is blowing up, or is it because the Christ you rap about? Right. And now the way it was before was, I don't know, I never heard of none of these producers, I never heard of none of these rappers, and I never heard of this Jesus cat.
Right.
And these dudes are all, like, they come out of nowhere with it. And that's what the Lord used to make much of his name, because you couldn't explain it any other way.
Right.
But now it's different. You can explain it by, I get it. I get why you guys are, why there's so much success now, because look at the producers you're working with. Or look at the, platform that you can operate from. Or look at and whenever it gets to where there's multiple things that can explain this, then it stops being as valuable as a platform, for the glory of Christ. Because then now we're saying it could be God or it could be something else.
Right.
And my burden is that people would pursue the kind of ministry that the only explanation is that Christ and His gospel, and that's it.
That's it.
It ain't. It's not me. It's not the beats. It's not the platform. It's not the skill. It's not the excellent, the people, the team. It's the Lord you roll with, and that's explaining it. So I do long for the days where that can be said. We're in a season now where we are more known than ever, but the reason for the success is it seems less supernatural than it was before.
Right.
Like before, it was just kind of, you just couldn't explain it. Right. You couldn't explain why people were, checking in to certain, artists in this movement. Like, you just can't explain it. Like, I don't even know. We're charting on iTunes? Like, I still remember when people knew about my name. I'm like, what?
Right.
People know about me? I'm just a dude. The music, I long for the days where it's like, you're just surprised, you're shocked, this secular hip hop website picked up on my album.
Wow.
And you were shocked. You didn't know how that was happening. Not, okay, here's the 10-step plan for how we, we're going to do all this strategy, and we got all these different people, and we got all these different da-da-da-da, and this name and that name and this name and this platform and that, and of course it works. Right. Of course it works, because that's what everybody does. Right. Right. And so it obscures who's really. And I'm not saying that the Lord's hand is not in it. I'm just saying it obscures the display of that. Right. Right. What are we putting on display? Right. And can people as clearly see in what's happening now the hand of God the same way they could have 10 years ago, 15 years ago? And I would say, no, they can't really see as clearly because there are other factors that seem to be explaining why this is happening. So all that to say, I go around the mountains with my answers, man. Like, all that to say, I think that there is more to lose than there is to gain in that comment, in that recent trend of pursuing, secular producers.
Wow. Man, my last question in a few words: will Tony Stone ever come back to producing again?
Somebody asked me that this past Sunday, and so funny thing, right? So Shil Baraka just dropped this one joint, right? And He's announcing he's on Humble Beats. And, he was like, yeah, back in the day, we could just, you answer the phone, and when he was hyped to see the beat from Tony Stone. And I was like, man, here's the thing, man, like, I have a gift. I still love music. Yeah. I still can do music. Yeah. Right. My thing is less. It's never a desire issue for me. Right. I still love music. If the Lord would have called me away from what I'm doing now, I can do music now. The thing is that I'm just all in, man. I'm an all in kind of guy, and what the Lord has called me to do now in pastoral ministry, I don't see any other thing in the world that I want to do. This is what I'm doing. I'm just all in, man. I'm all in, and I say that as someone who still enjoys music, someone who still enjoys making music, right? Someone who still enjoys the idea of that. So is the desire there? Do I still love music and still love making music? And oh yeah, absolutely, man, love it. But man, I'm compelled, man. Woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. Right. I have been apprehended. And so I can't speak for the future in terms of what could happen, but as in my current state of mind, right. I want to leverage, if there's any influence T-Stone still has on the culture, I want to leverage it, right? But do I still enjoy the idea of making music? Oh, absolutely. But man, do I foresee it? No.
Wow. Well, that's what's up, T, man. Hey, bro, I'm telling you, man, it's been an honor to have you on the show, dog. You just don't even know, bro. You don't even know.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you here. Yeah.
Likewise, man. And T, man, I just want you to know, man, whenever if the Lord ever release you to come back, you just come on back. We're going to be waiting on you, dog.
Well, you will be the first one I hit up if that happens. Mark from Mo Beats will be the first one to know.
There you go.
Back.
There you go, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, dog.
I appreciate you too, bro. Man, you take care, man.
No doubt. And you've been listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
This show has been brought to you by SacredApparel.net. The homie Twink and the crew over there are always coming up with the latest fashions. The tees, the hoodies, and the hats. Right now, they got a store-wide sale going on. Everything 20% off. This would be a great time to pick up a hoodie. Everything 40% off. Regular price $40. Now they $25 a hoodie. And the dope thing that I like about Sacred Apparel, they got tees for the big homies. So go check them out. SacredApparel.net. A clothing store for the ladies and gentlemen that choose to live sacred. You dig? Are you a producer or artist that is lacking confidence in your music? Well, now you can get your music critiqued by our industry vet. The Amazing Beat Critique by producer vet, The Amazing SB. Get your one-on-one video consultation via Skype or FaceTime. Submit 3 beats or 3 songs, and he will provide feedback and any questions that you may have pertaining to your music or the industry. So contact The Amazing SB today at amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Again, that's amazingbeatcritique@gmail.com. Contact him and book your session today.
You are listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, the podcast that's strictly for producers.
Hey yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Swift, aka Chef Boyard Swift, aka Dr. Swigglesworth. You are now listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast with my man Marv from Mo Beats, you know what I'm saying? If you listening to any other podcast, you're slacking. Producers, step your game up by learning from the best. You dig? Holla at your boy. Peace.
Yo. You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, man. I am your boy Marv from Mo Beats, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with the homie, Tony Stone. So now you have your answers. Tony is not coming back to production anytime soon unless the Lord change his path. And just some words of wisdom on just the state of Christian hip hop, man. It's just that simple. How you gonna have somebody that's not a part of your family you know what I'm saying, don't know anything about your family, toast at the front of your table. You know what I'm saying? How you do that? You know what I'm saying? So we got to get it together, man. We got to check our motives. You know, why are we doing this? And like another thing that he said that was in us that was so dope. It wasn't because of the beats and all the banging music. It was because the music was Christ-centered. It was different, that drew and compelled, you know, the genre forward. So, man, yeah, definitely a dope interview from the homie Tony Stone, man. I was just glad to have him on the show. Keep him in prayer, man, as he continue to do God's will and whatever God has called him to do. My producer thought for today. The producer thought for today is, when it's time to switch lanes, gracefully switch to be able to cut out a path for others. When it's time to switch lanes, gracefully switch to be able to cut out a path for others. Pay it forward. We gonna get old. We gonna move on to different seasons. It is important that, like I even mentioned earlier, understanding the seasons and knowing God's timing to be able to move to that other phase in life, to be able to open up that lane for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's our job as producers that been in it to make sure that we embrace the new crop of producers that are coming. You know what I'm saying? And gracefully move. You know, so that's something that I'm learning every day, to, you know, just gracefully switch lanes, because somebody else is gonna come in the lane if you like it or not. So that's my producer thought for today. Before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know, next week I will be having S1 and Von Beats on the show next week, Lord's willing. Father-son duo. Just going to talk about how he got into it and how important was it for him to pour into his son Von, you know, the production aspect of it. I think it's great. He just graduated from high school, but, you know, he's a producer and he's dope. So we're going to have them on the show next week. In a couple of weeks, maybe the week after next week, man, hopefully I will have my beautiful, lovely wife on the show. And we're going to be talking, I'm going to have on the show the life of a producer's spouse. You know what I'm saying? The sacrifices that they have to make for, you know, well, let me just speak for me and her. The sacrifices she have to make, you know, me being a producer and all these things, and, you know, with the part that she has to play in it, the things she like, the things she don't like, and just how, just over the years, we've learned how to make this musical thing work. So I'm gonna have on the show. I ain't gonna edit it, so whatever said on the show, that's what it's gonna be. I think that's good to do, because, you know, a producer spouse, man, they play an important part in that individual's lives. And it works both ways, you know what I'm saying? But because this is a producer podcast, we're going to talk about it from a producer aspect. So I'm gonna have my beautiful queen on the show in a couple of weeks. And, man, that's it. Man, continue to spread the word, let people know about the show, man. Next week, we'll be back, same time, same station. If you're enjoying the podcast, man, please leave a comment. Leave us a review on iTunes so we can see, you know, so we can know, you know, you're enjoying it, man. Spread the word, tell your mama, your daddy, your pappy, your grandpa, your mama, everybody about the TheShowlab Producer Podcast. This is your boy, More Beats. Until next time, I am out of here.
You're listening to the TheShowlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff.
Yeah,
you dig?